Hey guys, Martin here. Just wanting to show you the Arowana baby one more time. Um, Found a good food source for my Arowana. It is frozen dry shrimp, and they're just floating at the top. And I'm not sure if he will, but when he's hungry, he just goes after it and just swallows it whole. There we go. So it is a good food for the arowana. It is extremely skittish when it sees me, so very hard to record. But the food that works best for me right now is this little frozen dried shrimp. And yeah, I think that or small live crickets would work wonders. I think even some frozen dried bloodworms would be a good little food source for these. I tried pellets. Some of my cichlid pellets were just too big, and they just ended up sinking after a while. And I tried smaller pellets. I did go for the little tiny beta pellets as well. It does like those as well. So it is extremely tough to find a good food source if you don't want to go with the live. Um, I guess it would be actual frozen dry shrimp. It might eat those. It might eat some bloodworms. Although I've tried bloodworms, it didn't quite go after it. It needs a floating food, some kind of floating pellet, or frozen dried shrimp. It works really good here. In this case, it's already had several. I try to give him about 5 pieces every day, and he's already taken 2. So it is still a baby. Once it gets used to the food, it'll pick up and eat. But the goal is to start feeding it as quickly as possible so that so that you know what it likes to eat. I had to experiment with a couple different pieces of food before I feel comfortable that it is actually eating, and not just sinking, right? Now that I know it's actually eating the food, I am quite happy, and I can leave it and move on and come back tomorrow and just feed it again. I've also introduced some snails into the tank. I have them in most of my little guppy tanks, but I think that in time, if the arowana gets really hungry and it eats all the food that I've given it, it will go after the snails that I've put in here. Now the snails do, you can see them in the upper left corner. The snails, they grow out quite fast, so there will be a big colony of snails in this tank fairly soon. And just a nice live little snack if the arowana chooses to do so. Alright, well, that's it. Just thought I'd update you. This is like my first week with the new arowana, and I just wanted to share some basics that I've mentioned in the other video. Right now it's in a small tank. I have some floating plants up at the top just to sort of mimic its original environment. Plus I do like the look of the small plants. And at the very top of the tank, as I showed you guys the other day, it is a mesh top so that the arowana won't jump out. And it gets quite scared. I don't know if you've seen it. The second I move around, it'll just jump out of the tank if I didn't have the mesh at the top. So those are my tips for if you have a baby arowana and you want to make sure you grow it out. To start off, in a small tank with a mesh top, as you can see up at the top there. A mesh top is a good idea. Usually you can get those on a reptilian tank. Some frozen dried shrimp food works wonders. You can break it up into smaller pieces depending on the size of your arowana. Yeah, and that's about it. But make sure it's a floating pellet or food that you are feeding your arowana to get it started. Eventually, when it gets a little bit bigger, you will have to feed it some live minnows at least once a week. I think it needs a good diet. But I mean, you can get away with pellets. However, I don't think it will be as strong and healthy. Alright, that's it for the video. And I am enjoying the arowana that I've purchased. It has a really nice environment at the top here that mimics something a little bit more natural towards its setting in the wild, as it would kind of swim up and into the trees that are in the water and sort of wait for spiders and other little critters, even birds sometimes, to feed on. Because these things do get big, as I mentioned, they go 2-3 feet big, but they are majestic. They look amazing. They're a treat. If you have a big aquarium tank, they are worth having. But like I said, you have to have the top of the tank extremely well protected. It's one of the oldest fishes out there, most evolved, I would say, out of all the fish species. They're found in China, Asia area. They're found in South Africa. Different species. This specific one, I believe, is more of a South American type from the Amazon area. Absolutely beautiful. It's a silver arowana baby, and I am trying to baby it with you guys, hence the video. This is my probably I'll give it a break with the video for a while of the arowana, so just keep in mind I do have it and I am trying to get it to grow out. I'll probably come back in a couple weeks or a month or two and show you guys the progress on the arowana baby. But yeah, if you have the room in your big tank and you have some kind of Oscar fish or anything like that, these guys will grow up to 1 foot, 2 feet, even bigger sometimes, and they are spectacular to look at. Good luck with your fish tanks. Have a good day.